My name is Marjorie. I'm a Foreign Service officer, and my career track is public diplomacy. I served 4 years as the Cultural Affairs Officer in El Salvador, and I had the opportunity to share parts of U.S. culture, such as a Native American dance group, a bluegrass music group, artists, all kinds of exciting and interesting classical music programs with Salvadoran audiences. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Honduras in Central America, and I knew from that point that I wanted to live overseas and work with people and have that kind of career, a foreign service type of career. But it didn't happen overnight. I returned to the States. I worked at a law school for 7.5 years as the director of admissions. I was recruited to return to Honduras to work for a U.S. Government contractor working with refugees. When I was living in Honduras, it happened overnight. I woke up and I had started to lose my eyesight. And I realized then that the only place that I could really figure out what was happening and get on with my life was to go back to the United States, get a diagnosis, and then move on. And at that time I had an infant daughter, so I returned to the U.S. and what I thought was going to be just a few months in figuring out what was happening turned out to be 5 to 7 years in the U.S. I lost a job in Honduras prior to returning to the U.S. because they told me because I couldn't see, I couldn't do the job. I knew that wasn't the case. I knew that there was something that I knew I could do the job. I just needed to be the proper training. So I returned to the U.S., took computer courses, learned about accommodations, and I knew deep down, I said, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to take the Foreign Service exam. And as most people know, it's a long process. I had reasonable accommodations for the written exam, passed the written exam, took the oral exam, had reasonable accommodations, and joined the Foreign Service in 2002. My dream came true and took me. It was a journey, but it's a journey that has been well worth it. And served my first 2 years as a consular officer in northern Mexico. Now I'm working at the Foreign Service Institute, training other Foreign Service officers who will be going out to be cultural affairs officers. I am passionate about sharing U.S. values and culture through exchange programs and other artistic and cultural programs abroad. Despite my disability, I have been able to open up a world of opportunities for foreign students to study in the United States.